Serious, what are some sentences that changed your life? If you love someone, tell them you love them. If you hate someone, don't ever tell them that because maybe one day you'll love them too. My grandfather a few days before he passed. It doesn't get easier, you get better. This sentence came to me as a freshman in college during finals week and helped motivate me to not lose my scholarship after a rough semester. However, since then, it has stuck with me to help me with the other challenges inherent to life. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. Don't confuse support with surveillance. That guy you used to be? He's still there. He's in the backseat. Just don't ever let him drive again. Eddie Vedder, I believe. You can't expect people to love the same way you do. My mom told me this during my first heartbreak. If you live life expecting people to show love the same way as you, you're always going to be disappointed. She also has borderline personality disorder and views love as a series of checks and balances, but I digress. You have to fully feel your emotions before you can put them aside. My gym teacher. This really got me to think of how I handle my emotions. Taught me not to suppress them and made me learn how to truly get over my feelings. Don't break your back for someone who doesn't care about the pain it'll cause you. There's a fine line between consideration and hesitation. The former is wisdom, the latter is fear. It's from a goddamn video game and now it's framed on my desk at work. For me, the toughest part about work isn't doing it, it's starting. This helps me get started, and I've gotten places I never thought I would because of it. You can do everything right and still lose. If you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. That was Jay-Z just giving some really simple advice for spending money on shit you don't need. Everyone's drunk on something. No matter what, who, or how it is, everyone needs that something to attach to keep moving forward. If you did that, I think I'd have to eat a bullet myself so you wouldn't have to go through it alone, said by my dad when he found out I was struggling with suicidal thoughts. Before that, I didn't really think he cared about me all that much. People come into your life for a reason, a season and a lifetime. A drunk club girl told me that in a parking lot of a supermarket 8 years ago and it stuck with me. You always have a choice. Even when it seems like everything is out of control, it is still your choice how you will react. If everyone dies, and eventually everyone is forgotten. So do what you want and make it worth it for you, not the people wasting their lives judging yours. Edit, grammar. Thanks for the silver, friend. There are many dead rabbits that lay by the side of the road who are only there because they were unable to make a decision. The date was fine, but the whole time we were out I was thinking that I'd rather be with you and I'd like to explore that. Would you like to go out on a date with me? Said by one of my best friends over 10 years ago. We're coming up on our 9th wedding anniversary this month. People don't pay as much attention to you as you think they do. Just as it would be morally wrong to enslave another human being, so too it is morally wrong to enslave yourself. My university tutor. They probably didn't make it up themselves and I have no idea what it was in reference to, but it really struck a chord with workaholic me. Write the bad days in sand and the good days in stone. A friend told me this before I got on a flight to a new city for a job. There would be a lot of bad days, but this helped me get through it. Never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing. Ron Swanson. I have this printed on a coffee mug. It helps remind me that sometimes it's better to say no to things and direct all my energy into a smaller number of projects. I'm never going to feel like doing it. Helps me get my shit together and do the dishes and laundry in that moment rather than procrastinating. There is a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in. Leonard Cohen. I've been struggling a lot with mental illness, and I try to see my cracks as little treasures as much as I can. It makes me the unique person I am and I shouldn't be ashamed of them. Oh, and one of the first sentences I've heard that made me have cracks in the first place, but she's my favorite. My dad, talking about my sister while disputing custody with my mom. Be the kind of person who doesn't need second chances. From the woman that I fucked up my only chance with. I'm sorry, but we can't find the heartbeat. Those 8 words have been in my head every day since November the 11th last year, when me and my wife went for a regular 32-week scan, so find that our son had passed away without our knowledge. We have slowly been putting our life together since, and with my wife being pregnant now, those words are still in my mind every time we go for a scan. I'm not exactly the person that I want to be. I'll never be the person that I want to be. I don't want to be the person that I want to be. I'm exactly the person that I want to be. I had a lot of problems accepting myself, and got through times I was really depressed, but listening to this made me think, instead of imagining the perfect me that could fix my problems, why don't I fix everything as I am right now? Well, it didn't work that fast, but I slowly learned to accept my flaws and who I really am. A human body don't need a lot of food, so just eat what it needs. Down 20 pounds now. Why is dad here? My brother asked me this when we were looking for our mom to pick us up after school. Sure enough, my dad was waiting for us by his car and waving us over. Turns out my mom had been in a pretty serious car accident. She survived and recovered quickly, but it never occurred to me until then that anything like that could happen to my loved ones. You always make other people happy. You need to start making yourself happy. Made me realize that I genuinely didn't know how to be happy except by making other people happy. You love me too much. Oh well, depression is shit. Even though your son is really good at learning languages, he is not consistent enough. He is often absent and causes disruption in the whole class. This was what my teacher had to say to my parents the first time I went to tuition to learn English. This shook me up so badly, and I felt like I was disappointing everyone around me. Then I worked as hard as I could and completely changed my work ethic when it came to homework. Later I was the first student in my class to get a Cambridge certification degree. Every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth. Sooner or later that debt is paid. Valery Legasov. If you say you're going to do something, that is your word and it can be considered a promise. Not doing said thing means you lied. Blew my mind when I was 10ish, and tried to argue, but I didn't promise when accused of lying cause I didn't keep my word. It changed my perception of honesty, and has definitely made me a better, more honest person. All my love, it was the title of an email I received. I knew there was some family crisis happening, and my parents wanted me home. The author of that email was my sister's boyfriend. When I read that title and saw the author, the world spun and I collapsed. My sister had just committed suicide. We knew she had been struggling with depression for a number of years, but thought she had turned a corner and was recovering. We were wrong. Those are the most heartrending words I can imagine, and hope I never endure anything like that again. If you're interested in a fuller version of what going through that was like, you can find it in one of my old comments here. Very dry, but here goes. Procrastination is not laziness. It's the fear of failing, the frustration of not being good enough, the lack of direction, it's exhaustion. I've realized this. I put myself and my work a lot more out there now, and my procrastination has dwindled to very low levels now that I have clear feedback, criticism and praise. Don't look for life to be fair, my mother. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Blade Runner Rutger Hauer. It really puts things into perspective. Albeit, not a happy one. My mom coming out of her room crying and shouting he's dead, my name. He actually did it over and over again after my brother took his own life. I can still hear those words echoing in my head to this day. In the most literal sense, congratulations, you got the job. Started me down a career path I love to bits. When the police asked every witness why they didn't call 911, they all said that they didn't want to get involved. Regarding a woman in Nick who was mugged, beaten, raped and murdered. A story told to me by my HS drama teacher. I vowed to never be like those people. Don't ask a question you don't want to hear the answer for. It's extremely hard. Like, don't ask a person if they like you if you are not prepared to hear I don't. My dad yelling, you need to get your shit together, Grestest. I was a shitty teenager. About to drop out of high school, partied a lot, sneaking out, etc. I can count the amount of times my dad has really yelled at me on one hand. It wasn't even about him yelling that did it, but I could hear the desperation. I think he was the loudest person at both my high school graduation and college. It's a few sentences, but I wanted you to see what real courage is, instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand. It's when you know you'll act before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what. Read it for the first time in To Kill a Mockingbird many years back and it really stuck with me. You're against so many things, but what are you for? Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Thank you 8th grade band teacher. Rest in peace. How people treat you is more of a reflection on themselves than it is a reflection of you. Helps me deal with mean and angry people so much more easily. I'm pregnant. I don't think any single sentence changed my life as much as hearing my girlfriend say that over the phone after she found out. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. J.R.R. Tolkien, The Fellowship of the Ring. Tolkien was truly a genius. There are two reasons that you don't do something. Either you don't know or you don't care. A drill sergeant in basic training. You are hired the supermarket that choose to give a homeless man an extra shot. Can you score me some blow? I'll suck your dick. This is the moment I knew my sister's drug addiction was out of control. You have more to learn than to teach. We hate people that remind us of ourselves. I heard it secondhand from a guy I detested from this mutual friend of ours. When I heard that, he said that, it hit me why I didn't like the guy. I saw all of my worst traits in him. In reality we were pretty similar, but in a way we could never get along. But he would say an obscure book quote and it would be an obscure quote I appreciated as well, and little things like that. The most important step a person can take is the next step, always the next. Brandon Sanderson, Oathbringer. If you aren't willing to do something about it, you have no right to complain. I live by this statement. Maybe not life changing, but it definitely stuck with me. My stepfather was an abusive piece of shit and it only got worse when he was diagnosed with cancer. I was actually the last person he talked to. He looked at me and said, "I'm proud of you." I remember this immediate hollow feeling that I've honestly never experienced before or since. It was like the world didn't make sense anymore. He died shortly after that. I've got two. The first is a paraphrase. People can only make you feel bad if you allow them to. The other is a direct quote. The space between expectation and achievement is frustration. We'd like to offer you the position. I've put over a decade of my life into a dead-end fast food job. The depression and anxiety were literally making me sick. Hearing those words made it so much easier to keep going. In a relationship, you either end up getting married or break up eventually. No in between. Changed my view on romantic relationships. When you're old and look backwards, you regret more the things you haven't done than the ones you have. As far as first-hand exchanges, it was "you're a good parent." As far as quotes I heard, it would be "everybody is a genius." But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. What other people think and say about you behind your back is none of your business. Just keep moving forward. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Was going through a bit of depression. I'd show up to work super casual, which was acceptable but looked down upon, as everyone else dresses at least semi-formally. I started to think of this when I told myself I wanted to get out of my depression. I bought nice clothes for myself and felt amazing. Hyperfocus is actually a symptom of ADD, it's not proof that you can't have it. Began a pretty massive change in my life. What's so bad about being child? People talk about depression and suicide in a joking manner all the time on Reddit. However, when I was at one of my lowest points, a therapist asked me this and made me realize that all the complaints that I had about myself were superficial. You have to learn how to get past all the superficial stuff that doesn't matter. If there is something that is truly bad about being yourself, then fix it, or at the very least put all your effort into fixing it. There's no shame in being weak. The shame is in remaining weak. I just heard that at the exact time I needed it, and it pushed me to continue trying to get in shape and improve my life. The best part is it came from Black Clover, the last place I expected to find a good quote. I still love you, but I'm leaving you because you've been touched by another man. My ex, when I told him I'd been raped. When I said I don't want to, but I think I have a crush on you, to my friend I had been to primary school with, and we were both in the same high school. It was an all-girls school. That was the moment I accepted I was lesbian.